Welcome back to part 6, and we continue to knock this KFX 450R out. So right now I'm at kind of a standstill. This side of the motor over here, it's all tied in, it's all buttoned up. I think we're going to do a few more things. I got a couple more parts in the mail. I got this oil cover here. We're going to pop that in. The oil filter cover, we'll put the oil filter in. We'll do that now. I put the starter in off camera. There's really no reason to record that. It's just 2 bolts. Put a little oil on the O-ring before you slide it in so you don't risk tearing it. And that's pretty much it. There's a few things wrong with this that I need to fix before we move forward. These screws right here, this one right here, this one, and this one right here, these screw holes are all stripped. If you remember correctly, but somebody goobered this thing up with weld. Let me try to pull this back. I noticed that the blue on this is really making it hard to see on video. So they did a pretty good job TIG welding it. I was contemplating getting a new case, for this side, but I didn't end up going with it because they did such a nice job TIG welding this. Unfortunately, they goobered up the threads, so I need to put heel coil inserts in there, and I can do that while it's on the bike. I don't want to do it while the engine's open because you have to do some drilling and tapping, and I don't want to get metal chips inside the open engine. So that's going to be done at a later date, but I will record the process in doing heel coil inserts. One of the major problems that I did find is this guy right here. This is one of the reasons why I can't continue assembly. Let me put it under the light. You can see here, that's pretty mangled. You can see it's bent, and it is really thin. It looks like it might actually be ready to break off on that corner. This holds the timing chain on the crankshaft. And through further inspection, let me get the light on here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it clearly looks like this bike threw the chain at one time, the timing chain. And because the head is in such good shape, I think they probably had to replace the head. And there's another mark right there you can see. Let me get this thing back. There you go. Now you can see it. There's another mark right there. So, again, nothing else was bad. There's no other marks in here. I don't know if the timing chain that's in the bike is the one that they're thrown or if they replace it. I don't know, but I'm replacing it anyways. I did buy a new one. So this piece right here, I had to order from Partzilla. Obviously, there's no aftermarket parts. Nobody makes an aftermarket part for this. So I have to get a genuine Kawasaki part. So I ordered it from Partzilla. Partzilla, unfortunately, takes anywhere from 7 to 12 days, sometimes 14 days, before I get anything from them. And I don't want to wait 2 weeks before I do any more work to this. So I'm going to, we're going to continue on. This is only a $7 part. And I am not putting this back in mangled like that. I'm just going to buy a new one. Unfortunately, the shipping was $10. So I added a few other odds and ends that I need. I needed a tank grommet. I needed a return spring for the foot brake. I ordered those as well. I came to like 20 bucks or something like that, plus shipping. So those are on the way. Again, I'm not waiting 2 weeks to do anything else to this bike. So I think what we're going to do now is I am going to put the oil filter in. On the other side, I'm going to install the new oil filter cap. We'll go over that. And I am going to put the sleeve inside this counter shaft. And we're going to do all that now. And then we are actually going to put the motor in the four-wheeler. And typically, I wouldn't do that yet. I wouldn't advise anyone to start doing assembly with the motor open still. But yesterday, I spent 4 hours cleaning this bike with toothbrush, degreaser, Scotch-Brite pads, everything. And you can see that it is super clean. So I don't have to worry about any debris falling inside the open engine or anything like that. I cleaned the stator up. Everything's all clean. It's all ready to go. I took the skid plate off. The skid plate had massive amounts of oil caked in it. I slid it under here. And you can see that's all nice and clean now. So I can pop that back on when the time comes. I took the push bar off the front. I took the A-arm protectors off. I did some polishing of the aluminum frame here to make it look a little better. I used Scotch-Brite pads for that. I think it came out pretty nice. I'm going to do a whole video on cosmetics on this, so you guys can see how we can spruce this up and make it look really nice. I'm also going to include these in the video. I can't stand the green color, so I'm going to take the green paint off, and then I'm going to do like a brushed aluminum finish and then clear coat them, and I'm going to repaint that bar. I also had to straighten this out. It was pretty bent. I put it in my vise and straightened it all out, so that's all set, ready to go now. I didn't record any of that. So, without further ado, let me get you set up in the stand. Let's do the rest of the stuff we can to this lower end, and we'll stab it in the frame. First thing is we need an O-ring. Now we just got to pop this guy on there. Now, I could have used the old collar that was on the bike, but it had it started getting grooved out from dirt and such, and from the seal, and I just don't want to risk having it leak, especially after putting a brand new seal in there. And you want to have these notches right here facing the inside. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to use the sprocket just to make sure that that's fully seated. There we go. She snapped in and she's good to go. All right, let's take a look at this. This came from China through New York City, and it took me a while to get it. I ordered this thing. It took almost 3 weeks to get it. All right, there it is. Not a bad looking piece. Was not a lot of money. I think this thing was only like $17 or something like that. But it seems like it is machined aluminum. So it is made out of billet. All right, let's pop it on. Let's compare it to the one that was in it. And they look the same. This spring goes down inside here. And I got 2 new O-rings. The O-rings are on. I'm gonna pop the oil filter onto this, like that. And I want to put a little bit of oil in here because I don't want these to rip. Let's carry this over to the bike. All right, first I'm going to take some of this red and tacky grease, Lucas grease, and I'm gonna stuff it inside the barons here. I'm gonna put it on my finger, and I'm gonna stuff it inside this baron and seal. And we're gonna put the spacers in, metal spacers. I cleaned these up on the wire wheel, got all the rust and corrosion and all the debris off them so that they should slide pretty well. I'm also going to put some grease on the face of them to try to get this motor to slide in as easy as possible. Alright, the swing arm bolt's in, as you can see right there. And I will tell you that that was an absolute pain in the ass. So there's an adjuster in there. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a spanner nut. And there's a collar in it that's threaded. And it's threaded through the frame. So basically, that's an 11/16 bolt on vice grips. And there is a hex hole inside that spacer. And it's a left-handed thread, and I use that to back it off. Other than that, you would never get that motor back in there because the swing arm was compressed. I just used a screwdriver. I don't have the special spanner socket to get that out, so I just used a screwdriver and a hammer and got that nut out. I didn't record any of it. Unfortunately, when you get in the heat of the moment and you're by yourself, you forget about the camera. But anyways, that's what I did, and the motor slid right between the swing arm like butter. There was plenty of room once I took the tension off of that adjuster, and now it's readjusted. It's tight. The span is tight. I have the swing arm bolt is just snug with a ratchet right now. I'm going to hit it with the impact gun once I get the rest of the motor in. I'll set you up in a stand and we'll put that front motor mount in. So I think at this point here, I'm going to put the reverse lever plunger back in. Let me turn you a little bit so you can see, because I think this is going to be just way too difficult to do. There's not a lot of room back here, so I'm going to do that now. But I have the reverse lever in there. Let me pull it and you'll be able to see it move. That's functioning properly. Let me just give you guys a little technical service advice here. I advise putting that back in before you put the motor in the swing arm. That was an absolute bear trying to get that bolt in there with the swing arm protect, chain guard there on the swing arm. Also, there's not really a lot of room to wiggle that piston back inside that hole, and then to get the screw, the mounting screw on the back side of that. Luckily, I was able to come up from underneath here. Get it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not up there, where that screw goes, but anyway, bit of advice: do it before you put the motor in the swing arm. All right, so what I'm going to do now, and I threw a rag on top just so nothing would fall inside the engine. Actually, it's a towel. All right, so I guess from here, I'm going to take that block of wood out of there, and I'm going to install the front motor mount, and then we're going to button up everything else, and I will just put you in the stand, and you guys can watch the show. The engine mounts are all in. The bottom mount's in. Front mount's in. Swing arm's tight. I think what I'm going to do now is I am going to button up the rest of the stuff here on the lower end. I'm going to put the clutch cable on. I'm going to adjust that. I am going to put the breather tube back on. I'm going to put the ground wire back on. I'm going to hook the positive up to the starter. I'm going to do all that stuff now while I still have plenty of room in here. Because once I start putting all the stuff back on the engine, it's really, really tight and there's no room to do anything. So let's do that now. All right, so the ground wire comes up across here, ties down in here. There's a clip that goes on here that ties these two to this, and then they go down under the battery box, and the ground's on this side and the positive's on that side. And that's how it goes. And I'll tell you, man, if I didn't video a lot of this stuff, I would never know how it went back together. And the reason for it is because it's just so long between disassembly and reassembly that you just forget how things go. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it's just the way it is. All right, I'm gonna throw those screws in and move on to something else. All right, the electrical's all in. I think we're in good shape now. So the power wire goes here. The ground goes there. The stator wire goes there. The ground wire for the motor runs up and over here and connects down in there. I think at this point here, we're in pretty good shape. I hooked the neutral safety back up, which is right here. Put that back in. So that's all ready to be put back on once I fix these 2 screw holes, which I'll do once I close the motor all back up. I will helicoil those. I'll show you how to do that. Let's go over to the bench and check the battery. If you guys remember correctly from the first teardown video, I took the battery out and I put the multimeter on it, and it came up, if my memory serves me correctly, 7.9 volts. Not enough. We need over 12 volts. 12 volts for it to be a good battery. I put it on trickle charge. I let it charge for 24 hours. I let it hit the repeater a bunch of times, and then I took it off. This battery's been sitting for about a month and a half now. And let's see if it held. So I'm gonna put my multimeter on 12 volts. I don't know if you guys can see that. And we'll see, positive, negative. And we're at 12.36 volts. So my indicator right here is showing good. So I think this battery is fine. I think it just had a drawer on it. And that's why it went down, because the bike wasn't being used. I think we're okay. I don't think I need to buy a new battery. So that's good. All right, off camera, I shimmed the buckets. I took the camshafts, I put them in, I screwed them down. I checked with feeler gauges. These are the dimensions that I came up with. Every time I put it together, I put the deviation or the difference between what I had and what I needed, and then I went back and redid it. It took me 2 or 3 tries to get them right. This is the shim kit that I ordered. I got it off eBay. It was wasn't that expensive. I think this thing was like 40 bucks or something like that. But it gave me enough shims, gave me the sizes I needed to get this done. So this is all set now. It's all ready to go on. At this point here, I think I'm in a standstill still, because I'm still waiting on this thing from Podzilla. I've been waiting on it for 2 weeks now, and I really can't do anything until I get it. So that's what we're waiting on there. And here are the camshafts. They're all ready to go, all cleaned up. Cam chains ready to go. I'll show you what I got done on the bike over here. This is what I got done on the bike. I mounted the Nerf bar on this side back on. I've cleaned it all up. I put the silencer on, or the spark arrestor, whatever you want to call it. And I've cleaned everything up. You can see how shiny that is now. I wire wheeled it, cleaned it all up. The frame is all set. Everything looks nice and clean back here. I wire wheeled all the bolts, so everything looks nice. I cleaned that up. These clips right here were rusty. I cleaned those up. Those look really nice now. I wire wheeled the brake, master cylinder for the rear. That's done. That looks nice. Everything's all cleaned up here. The Nerf bar's cleaned up. I wire wheeled the brake lever. I'm still waiting on the return spring. That's also coming from Podzilla. Let's come around. I reinstalled the headlight. I fixed the broken mount. It had a broken mount up here. You really can't see it, but it was this one right here that was broken. And I put a piece of sheet metal in there, drilled a hole through it, so now it's nice and solid. It's not going to come off. That's all finished. The pipe is all cleaned. You can see there. I cleaned that up with steel wool and Scotch-Brite. That looks nice. That's nice and clean. I put brand new hardware in the battery box, so that's all ready to roll. The wires are all in where they're supposed to be. Clutch cable's in. Battery ground's on. Starter positive wire's on. The reverse lever is hooked up. The clutch lever is hooked up. As you can see here, that's all set. It's working nice. It's all adjusted properly. Got about 1/4 of an inch of play before it starts to grab. That's nice. The frame is all cleaned up, and that's pretty much it. I'm at a standstill now, so what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna put the Nerf bar on this side because I want to have room to pull this cover and still do all the assembly on this side. So I think what I'm gonna do next is top end. That's gonna be in the next video. I'm gonna end this video here. I got enough content and I can't really go much further. I've done just about everything I can do until I get that part. And that one little part is holding me up. So this is the end of video 6, I think, or 5, 6. There'll be video 7 to come where we assemble the top end and hopefully get a first start out of it. That'll be in the next video. And if you guys have any questions at all about anything I've done, feel free to leave a comment. I'll definitely answer you back. Give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, like, the whole 9 yards. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.